Ava's eyes widened as she stared at her phone. The screen was alive with Karen Stokely's face hunched beside her Tesla, jabbing at the passenger door with what looked like a butter knife. The absurdity hit her like a punch. Karen, the woman, who once scolded her for a slightly crooked garden gnome, now kneeling in her driveway like a burglar in training, trying to break into her car with a kitchen utensil. It was so ridiculous she almost laughed, but then she saw the seriousness in Karen's eyes. Determined, frantic, almost unhinged. The driveway was quiet, but Ava's heart hammered. Her finger tapped the screen instinctively, enlarging the live feed. Karen's face filled her phone, tight-lipped, eyes narrowed, forehead creased with something fierce, something angry and scared all at once. She was muttering to herself, words muffled and angry. Ava could hear her voice low and trembling, trying to justify her actions. Protecting the neighborhood, Karen muttered, clutching the butter knife as if it were a badge of honor. This car's been here too long. It's suspicious. I have authority. Her words sounded hollow, like she was convincing herself more than anyone else. Ava's stomach churned, not because she cared about the car, she could buy 10 if she wanted, but because she saw the cracks in Karen's facade, the desperation seeping through. Then, suddenly, the loud wail of the Tesla's alarm cut through the quiet. The screen flashed. Tamper detected. Emergency services have been notified. Ava didn't flinch. Her fingers hovered over her phone, already knowing what to do. Her late husband, Eli, had set up this system. Full surveillance, motion alerts, license plate recognition, all backed up by law enforcement. It was his gift to her, a way to stay safe when he was deployed halfway across the world, always knowing she could see everything. Now, it was her shield. She slipped her phone into her pocket and stepped outside, barefoot. On the cold concrete, the air was still, thick with morning fog, but her eyes stayed fixed on Karen. The woman was muttering again, probably lying to herself, trying to justify her actions. Ava didn't bother to interrupt. She knew Karen's game. Let her play it out. From the corner of her eye, she saw the police cruiser turn the corner, lights flashing softly. 2 officers stepped out, walking toward the driveway. One called out, "Ma'am, what are you doing?" Karen froze, her face twisting in a mixture of panic and stubbornness. She tried to wave her butter knife, but the officer gently plucked it from her hand. "Checking if this car belongs to you?" the officer asked calmly, examining the knife with a raised brow. Karen's face flushed crimson. "I thought it was stolen. I was inspecting it. Protecting the neighborhood," she repeated, louder this time, as if her words could somehow make her innocence clear. Her voice cracked under the pressure. Ava stayed quiet, watching from her porch, arms crossed. The second officer approached, hand near his belt, but relaxed. Karen's excuses tumbled out. She was just doing her job. She was HOA president, authority figure, protector of the community. But her words sounded hollow, like a script she was desperately trying to memorize. The lead officer looked at her, then at the butter knife in her hand. "You realize you're tampering with property, ma'am, and attempting to disable security devices?" His tone was gentle but firm. Karen's face paled. She looked at Ava, eyes pleading, then back to the officers. Her mouth opened. But no, words came out. Instead, she fidgeted, clutching her purse as if it were a shield. Ava finally stepped down from her porch, voice calm and cold. "She's lying. I have it all on video. My system records everything. The footage is already uploaded to the police servers, full timestamps, audio, everything. Would you like me to send it now?" Karen's eyes darted to Ava, anger flickering in her gaze, but she said nothing. The officer nodded slowly, then told her to sit on the curb while they took her statement. Karen was still clutching her purse, her face a mask of fury, shame, and something darker. Panic. Ava watched the scene unfold, her heart steady. She'd built this system with Eli's help, a fortress of trust and technology. Now it was her weapon, her shield. She knew Karen's next move. She'd spin her story, try to distort the truth, but she had the evidence. The videos, the logs, everything. Inside, Ava closed the door softly, leaning against it. Her breath came slowly, but her mind raced. Her late husband's voice echoed in her memory. Let the system talk louder than you ever could. And that's exactly what she had done. Karen's words echoed in her mind, protecting the neighborhood, acting out of authority, doing her duty. But Ava knew better. Karen's desperation revealed her true intentions. This was just the beginning of her unraveling. She opened her laptop, already prepared. The footage of Karen trying to break into her car, the butter knife, the trembling hands, the moment the alarm sounded. All neatly organized, time-stamped, ready to be used. She backed it up to 3 secure drives just like Eli had taught her, each one labeled meticulously. Her phone buzzed again, another alert. She looked at the screen. Police report filed, suspect Karen Stokely, vehicle tampering, trespassing. She pressed a few buttons, attaching the footage, and sent it to her lawyer, Jennifer Cho. A minute later, her phone vibrated with a reply. The police had already received the report. The officer on scene had confirmed the footage matched the incident. They'd file a formal investigation. Karen's smear campaign was already spreading. Her angry posts on the neighborhood chat, her accusations of spying, her claims of defending the community, all falling apart now that the truth was out. Ava kept her silence. She didn't need to shout. Her evidence spoke for itself. That evening, the neighborhood chat exploded with memes and sarcastic comments. Karen was a laughingstock. Her attempts to spin the story only made her look more foolish. She had tried to paint Ava as a threat, an intruder, a spy, but her own words and actions had turned her into the villain. The community was waking up. Ava sat in her living room, watching it all unfold on her laptop. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from relief. She had finally pushed back. Not with anger, but with clarity. Her grief still lingered, but now it was a quiet strength, Eli's lessons echoing in her mind. Let the system do what we built it to do. She looked at the framed letter Eli had crafted for her. In trust, we stand. In silence, we win. It was her shield now, her reminder. The past was buried in the garden she'd planted, white stones and mirrored panels reflecting the dawn. She had made her peace, and as she closed her laptop, she knew this was only the beginning of her quiet revolution. Karen's game was over, the truth was out, and Ava Monroe was finally free. Would you like me to continue with the next chapters? Building on this momentum? Absolutely. Here's the second chapter, starting directly from the ending of the previous one, packed with suspense, dialogue, twists, and powerful moments, all told in simple, engaging language. It continues the story, with immediate action and deepens the tension. Ava's eyes flicked to her phone as the notification buzzed urgently. The screen flashed with a new alert. Police dispatch confirmed. Suspect Karen Stokely on scene. Her heart pounded, but her face stayed calm. She knew this moment would come. She had prepared for it. She stepped onto the porch, watching the driveway. Karen was still crouched beside the Tesla, now with a flashlight in her gloved hand. She was trying to hide her panic, but her trembling fingers betrayed her. The glow of the streetlight hit her face. Pale, sweaty, eyes darting for an escape. She was trying to pretend she hadn't been caught. Ava's mind raced. She had the footage. She had the evidence. The police car pulled up, 2 officers climbing out. The one who had been there earlier approached first, voice steady but firm. "Ma'am, what are you doing here? Why are you tampering with this vehicle?" Karen straightened, forcing her face into a mask of innocence. "I was just inspecting it, protecting the neighborhood," she said quickly, voice trembling. "It's my duty as HOA president. I saw it parked here long enough and I thought—" The officer cut her off, raising a hand. "Ma'am, you realize attempting to open a vehicle with a butter knife is suspicious? And trying to disable security measures? That's a crime." Karen's eyes widened. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Her mouth opened and closed, like a fish out of water. She looked at Ava, who watched silently from the porch, arms crossed. Ava took a step forward, voice calm but loud enough to carry. I have all of this on video, she said, pulling her phone from her pocket. The footage is already uploaded to the police servers. I can send it now if you want. It clearly shows her trying to break into my car. The second officer approached, glancing at Karen with a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Is that true? He asked softly. Karen's face was flushed, her eyes darting between the officers and Ava. I was just checking, she stammered. The lead officer looked at her, then at the phone in Ava's hand. Ma'am, you're under suspicion of vehicle tampering. We'll need to detain you while we review this footage. Karen's jaw tightened. Her eyes flicked to her purse, then back to the officers. I'm HOA president, she declared, voice cracking. I have authority. You have no authority to break into a neighbor's property, the officer interrupted, voice even. Unless you want to explain why you're trying to open her car with a butter knife. Karen's face went pale. Her lips pressed into a thin line. She tried to argue, but the words died in her throat. She looked defeated, trapped. Ava watched as the officers gently but firmly guided Karen to sit on the curb, her head bowed. The officers then turned to Ava. Ma'am, do you want to file charges? Ava hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Yes, but only after we review the footage. I want everything documented. One officer pulled out a camera and took photos of the scene. Ava watched as they snapped pictures of the butter knife in Karen's trembling hands. Then she calmly played the footage on her phone, showing Karen crouched beside her car trying to pry open the door. The officers watched, silent, the same footage she'd carefully stored and backed up, the one Eli had helped her set up. It was irrefutable. Karen's eyes widened further as she saw herself on the screen, her face twisted with anger, embarrassment, and something darker, fear. The police finished their report, and one of them spoke quietly. We'll be taking her in for questioning. We'll also review the footage and her actions. This is serious. Karen looked upward, her eyes pleading. I was only doing my duty, protecting the community. You don't understand. The second officer cut her off again. We understand enough. You'll have a chance to explain everything at the station. The officers began to escort Karen away. She struggled briefly, then went limp, muttering under her breath. Ava watched her go, her mind racing. This wasn't just about a butter knife, it was about something much bigger. She looked down at her phone, then at the police. Her finger hovered over the send button. The footage was her secret weapon. She'd planned this moment. It was her final shield. Wait, she called softly. The officers paused, looking at her. Can I add one thing? Ava asked, voice steady. This isn't just about her, it's about the bigger picture. About community trust and accountability. I want this recorded as a formal incident report, and I want it clear that I won't tolerate harassment or intimidation. They nodded. We'll make sure it's documented. As the police drove off with Karen, Ava felt a cold wave of relief. She had finally taken her stand. The evidence was secure. Her system had worked just like Eli intended. She turned back to the porch, her hands trembling slightly, not from fear but from the adrenaline of victory. Her house was silent now. The driveway was quiet. The storm was over for now. But she knew better. Karen's actions hadn't just been a petty theft. They had been a warning, a sign of something deeper. And Ava was ready. She took a deep breath, stepping inside her house. The faint hum of her security system lingered in the air, a quiet promise that she would never be caught unprepared again. And as she closed the door behind her, she whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning." Would you like me to continue with the next part, keeping the momentum going? Absolutely. Here's the third chapter, starting immediately from the ending of the previous chapter, packed with suspense, twists, and powerful moments, leading to a mind-blowing conclusion. It's written in simple, engaging language with no slow build-up, just pure action and emotion. Ava watched the footage play on her laptop. Karen's trembling hands, the butter knife falling to the ground, her panicked, eyes darting around as the alarm blared and the police arrived. She had captured everything. The desperation, the lies, the failure. The evidence was irrefutable. Now, all she had to do was wait. But then, her phone buzzed again. A new message. Her stomach clenched. She hesitated, then opened it. It was from an unknown number. "You think you've won? This isn't over." Ava's heart skipped. Her eyes darted across her house, her surroundings. No sign of movement. She knew better than to trust a random message. Still, her instincts sharpened. She clicked her laptop shut, eyes narrowing. She wasn't going to let Karen or anyone else control her peace. The house was silent. Too silent. Then she heard it, a faint, rhythmic tapping coming from her backyard. She froze. Her breath caught. Slowly, she moved toward the window, peering out. Shadows danced in the moonlight, but she saw nothing. No figures, no movement. Just the dark, stretching beyond her garden. Ava's mind raced. Had Karen returned? Or was this something else? Her fingers hesitated over her phone. Then she remembered the system. Eli's system. The cameras. The alarms. Everything was still active. She reached for her phone, but it buzzed again. Another message. "Did you think you could silence me? Think again." This time, she saw it. A flash of light flickering behind the trees. Something moving just beyond the fence. Not a person. Not Karen. Something else. Something bigger. Her eyes widened. Her security feeds had been hacked. Someone was trying to break into her system. Suddenly, the main monitor in her living room flickered. A distorted, pixelated image appeared. Someone dressed in black, face hidden behind a mask, standing just outside her property. Her heart hammered. She grabbed her phone, trying to call the police, but the line was dead. No signal. Her system had been compromised. Then the figure moved, stepping into view. A voice crackled over her speakers. Deep, distorted. "Did you really think this was over? You're just getting started." Ava's blood ran cold. The voice was familiar. She froze. It was Karen, but it wasn't her voice. It was deeper, darker, more menacing. "Who are you?" Ava demanded, voice trembling but trying to sound steady. The figure chuckled. "You've been playing with fire, Ava. You think your little system can protect you? Think again. This isn't just about the car. It's about control. About power, and I own it now." Her mind spun. Someone was inside her system. Someone had been watching her all along. Then, the screen went black. Silence. For a moment, Ava thought it was over. Then her phone vibrated again. Another message. "You can't hide forever. Neither can I." She backed away from the window, her hands trembling. Her house felt like a trap. Her own sanctuary turned into a prison. Suddenly, a loud bang sounded. From the backyard, something heavy. She spun around, heart pounding in her chest. She grabbed her phone, ready to call, then remembered. The line was dead. A shadow slipped past her window. She saw it. Dark, swift, deliberate. Someone had broken into her yard. "Eli," she whispered to herself, tears prickling her eyes. "Help me." No response. Only the echo of her own voice. She ran to her front door, eyes darting everywhere. Her hand trembled as she reached for the lock. But before she could open it, the door burst inward. A figure stood in the doorway. Not Karen, not anyone she'd expected. A stranger dressed in black, face hidden behind a mask. But in the dim light she saw something strange, faint traces of familiarity. The stranger's voice came low and calm. "You thought you could hide behind your tech? No, you've just made yourself a target, but I'm here to tell you it's not over, not yet." Ava's breath caught. Her mind raced. Who was this? What did they want? Then the stranger reached into their pocket and pulled out a small device. A USB stick. They handed it to her. "Take this," the stranger said. "It's everything. Every secret, every lie, every manipulation. Karen's not just the problem. There's someone higher, Someone pulling strings. This will expose them. All. Ava hesitated, then snatched the USB. Her fingers trembled as she looked into the mask's eyes, cold, unyielding. Who are you? She demanded. The stranger smirked behind the mask. Let's just say I'm someone who doesn't like bullies, and I owe you a debt. You showed strength when everyone else cowered. But be careful, you've only uncovered the surface. The real game has just begun. Then, suddenly, the figure turned and disappeared into the night, leaving behind a trail of footsteps in the dew. Ava stared after them, heart pounding. Her mind was a whirlwind. Who was this? Friend or foe? What secret was hidden in that USB? She looked down at the small device, then at her house, her fortress, her sanctuary, and in that moment she knew the war was far from over. But she had something now, something no one could take away. The truth, she whispered to herself, voice trembling but fierce. This ends tonight. She plugged the USB into her laptop. It hissed softly as files opened, thousands of documents, recordings, secrets. The puzzle pieces clicked into place. And then the biggest revelation. The files revealed a shocking truth. Karen wasn't just a petty neighbor, she was a pawn, controlled, manipulated, by someone unseen, pulling strings from the shadows. Ava's eyes widened. The real enemy was bigger than Karen. It was a network, a web of lies, corruption, and power. Her mind raced. She had the proof now, the ammunition. She could destroy them all, but she also knew the stakes. If she used this, if she exposed everything, the fallout would be catastrophic. She looked at the files, then at her house, her garden, her quiet neighborhood. Her voice was steady now, fierce with purpose. Not just for me, she whispered. For everyone who's been silenced. For everyone who's still afraid. And in that instant, she made her choice. She would fight. Not with rage, but with truth, and she would win, because she had nothing left to hide, and everything to reveal. Would you like me to continue with the final mind-blowing conclusion?